President Taylor.
Present.
Sorry. Vice President Crowder.
Here.
Ms. Rush here. Ms. Watley Seeds.
Present.
Ms. Buchanan.
Present.
Mr. Bradley.
Present.
Mr. Watson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, at this time, I would ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda. One item, Mrs. Robinson, that the item of the M63 property, is it on the agenda as well? Okay. Under three. All right, so I need a motion to approve today's agenda. Moved by Ms. Buchanan.
Support.
All right, supported by Mr. Watson. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding tonight's agenda? All right, Madam Secretary?
President Taylor.
Yes.
Ms. Crowder.
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan.
Yes.
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we have public comment. Those who come to the mic, you have 3 minutes. Please, if you will, state your name and address if you have public comment.
Come right here.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good
Can you
evening.
hear me? Good
Yes.
evening. My name is Grant Gondwazik. I know a lot of you all. My daughter's graduated from the school. My son's in the school right now. He's a 9th grader. I've seen the school struggle through the years, and it's been very disheartening because my daughters are now, doing well in school beyond Benton Harbor and representing Benton Harbor very well. I've seen other kids do it, and this community, you see the color I have. This community's really accepted me and my family and been wonderful to my family. So I love Benton Harbor. Why I came tonight, I've never been to board meetings before. I don't know, this is all new to me, but I felt it on my heart to speak tonight because I've seen us go through a lot of changes through the years. And right now, I believe we have a superintendent, interim superintendent, who was raised through our school system, went on to college, came back, taught in our school system, worked their way up in our school system to administrative levels and all that. And sometimes we don't appreciate what's in front of us, and we always look on the other side of the fence. We always look on the other side, form these committees, go out and have these search committees, go get these people, and they don't work for a year or two, then we fire them, then we have to pay them. And we have someone to, what works in Benton Harbor schools, you have to work in Benton Harbor schools. Bottom line, it's a special community, and Ms. Robinson is the right person to be our superintendent. I'm tired of being the interim. She's done all the due diligence, she's paid her dues, she's homegrown, and she deserves to be the superintendent in right now. I just believe in it. She's special. It's the only way that works. The only way this school works is from our, and I'm sorry to say that, but I'm selfish and I believe it. And I'm sick to say this tonight because I don't want this school to struggle anymore. I got a boy in 9th grade. I cannot have the school struggle anymore. And I will not sit back and let it struggle. Ms. Robinson is the right person for the job. I don't even know if she wants the job, but she deserves the job, and she should be the superintendent. This school didn't fall down overnight. It took a long time. It's been falling down for years. I'm tired. Let's get behind who we hire, believe in them, and help give them time to make it right. It takes time. It takes time. Lives in the community, been from the community, is about the community. What more do we want? What more do we want? It's about, it's enough. Then we hired this principal, Mr. Holmes, that just came in. In the days he's been here, he's fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. I'm going to give you my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, I'm just going to give it. He's fabulous. In the 12 days he's been here, it's amazing what he's doing. It's amazing what he's doing. Give the guy, we hire these chiefs, let the Indians get in line and help them be successful, because when they're successful, we all are successful. Enough is enough. Ms. Robinson is fantastic to take this community, this school to the next level. Take the interim offer position, give her 5 to 7 years, like all the other school districts raise their own and hire their own. But we don't appreciate our own. They do it. It's time we do it. Ms. Robinson is the right person. Let's get behind her and support her. You can hear it in my voice, I'm adamant because I love this school. I got a son in this school. I help a lot of kids through the years. Y'all know me.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you. I'm not going beyond my time, but thank you all very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public participation?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I brought a parent with me. She's going to come up here with me. I want to talk about the events we had yesterday at home. It was a great event. Miss Keisha has 2 students in our district.
I didn't get your name.
Oh, Tracy Burton. Hi, Miss Lou.
Tracy what?
Burton. We had over 70 participants. We had a great mix of families that came out. We had a superhero literacy night. And you want to talk about your experience? Anyway, she was amazing. She came in, she volunteered to sign every single parent up. And yesterday, what I got to see was what we're fighting for. And I think a lot of times when we sit behind the desk or we're knee deep in our job, we forget what we're fighting. I wish I had my picture. I took a picture of a young girl. She was reading a book. She missing all her teeth up here. And I'm like, that's who we're fighting for. This 2nd grader who told her mom she wanted to pick out a book about the water cycle because she wanted to learn more about it. And I think we forget that. And I just want us to keep that at the forefront, that we have to invest in our families is very important, because when they're supported, when our families feel like their voices are heard, our children do better. So let's just remember who we're fighting for. We're not fighting each other. We're not fighting the state. We're not fighting anybody. We are fighting for the future. And if we really want them to be successful, we have to keep investing in them and show up for them. Come read with them. Come talk to them. Come walk the halls. Come sit with the student. Research goes above and beyond to what one positive interaction with a positive adult does for a child's life and mental health. So don't underestimate what your presence means in a child's life. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, Superintendent Robinson, staff report number 1.
No, we gotta do the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Thank you for keeping me on my toes. All right, at this time, item E, approval of the minutes for the month of November 5th, 2019, a work session board meeting. May I have a motion? It's okay. May I have a motion for the approval of the November 5th, 2019 work session board meeting? Support. All right.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Wadley, yes. Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Superintendent Robinson, Central Administration Staff Report number 1.
Thank you. Good evening, community, and good evening, board. Staff report number 1 is the appointment of our Title IX coordinator. Reason for board consideration is to approve the appointment of Title IX coordinator in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Policy reference is policy number 2260, which is non-discrimination and access to equal educational opportunities. Facts and analysis is that Cleather Nichols has held this position since 2017, and the district is asking that she be approved for this current year. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve Mrs. Cleather Nichols, as the district's Title IX coordinator for the 2019-2020 calendar school year.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 1? All right, moved by Ms. Buchanan, supported by Vice President Crowder. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Crowder, Ms. Buchanan, and I have had a lot of experience working with Mrs. Nichols over the past few months, and I think she's terrific.
Get you homegrown.
Okay.
Well, Brent.
Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seeds?
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Staff report number 2, Mr. Johnson, Hungerford and Nichols audit report.
Thank you. The reason for board consideration is each year the board engages an independent certified public accounting firm to audit the district's financial records. And to provide an annual financial report. Facts analysis this evening, representatives from the CPA firm Hungerford Nichols are here to present the audit report to the board of education. This time I'll turn the floor over to them.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, good evening.
My name is Mark Sawyers. I'm audit manager with Hungerford Nichols. Mike Renner here with me. We both worked on the audit, worked closely with Scott. As all of you know, a lot of administration changes in the past year, and we've been, I believe, the auditor for your district for 5 or 6 years now. And a couple years back before Scott's first retirement, we worked with him. Very good experience. You know, he went through a couple changes since then, and the audit suffered to some degree, but I think we're back moving forward in the right direction. Scott's fantastic to work with. The fact that we were able to get through the audit, I believe he came on in July of this year, back to his position, which is after the period that we audited, was able to get the books in order. And we were able to get the audit report out the door. You have a few different documents in front of you, 2 larger reports. I'm going to talk about the smaller of those 2 bound reports first. It's a single audit report, and then Mike will come up and talk about your financial statements or annual financial report. So a single audit is a federal compliance audit. It's required under uniform guidance to be completed if you have $750,000 or more in federal expenditures in a given year. I believe the district has over 6 million, so you were required to have the audit. We met with the finance committee before, in advance of this meeting, and went through everything in detail. So we're both going to hit on a slightly higher level, kind of recap key points of these audits for you. So within that smaller report, we have two different audit letters. First one relates to internal control over financial reporting, which is a distinction in a single audit compared to a financial audit. We're required to test controls. So it's not just compliance with federal laws and requirements, it's the actual controls that your staff and employees have in place and management has in place to ensure compliance. So the first letter there relates to that, to the internal control. It is an unmodified letter, which is a positive. We had no issues as it related to internal control for financial reporting. Second report relates to our actual testing of major programs. So I mentioned over $6 million in federal expenditures. You have a lot of different federal programs that you do administer. We do not look at all of those in a single audit. We're required to test a certain percentage to get the coverage we're required to achieve, which is 40% in the audit. So this report reflects our conclusion. So on page 4 of the report is the base, is our opinion on the 2 different programs we looked at. We looked at Title I Part A, we looked at the child nutrition cluster. And there was a qualified opinion for both of those. That means we did have audit findings, though they did not rise to a level that compliance as a whole is in question. There's not an adverse opinion here, it's a qualified opinion. I'll move on to the page 16 of the report. I moved past the schedule. You can see all the different levels of expenditures within each fund. And on page 15, you can see that the total is $6.2 million in federal expenditures. And we provide a reconciliation to the financial statements as well. Page 16 I've directed you to because it's the best summary page in this document of our conclusions, reflects the qualified opinion, and our different opinions reported in the audit letters. We noted material weaknesses in internal control of major programs, as well as one finding related to financial reporting that did not impact our overall conclusion that was an unmodified opinion. I will not go over all of the different findings that are there for your reading pleasure. We did look at a corrective action plan that Scott and his team prepared, and we know that processes are already being implemented to respond to these issues. And I think we're hopeful with a new grant person that you have in place, Tracy. Seems great to work with. We're looking forward to next year and having some of these findings that have been repeated for a couple of years go away. I think we're confident that you can reach that level I'm looking forward to working with Scott going forward. Does anybody have questions about this report before Mike comes up? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Brenner, Audit Manager with Hunter Nichols. Thank you again for having both of us. And I just want to start off again by echoing Mark's sentiments about working with Scott. It's truly refreshing working with someone that takes ownership of the financial statements. We don't see that everywhere. I mean, we have plenty of troubled districts that we deal with, and a lot of business managers that we deal with. But to see Scott take ownership when he wasn't even the one here during the fiscal year that we're auditing means a lot to us. It means he cares, he wants to get things done right, and it makes our job 10 times easier when we have someone that wants to get it done right. So I just want to say kudos to Scott and his staff that he works with. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to go through quickly the bigger package, bigger financial statement. And the most important item on there is going to be on page 2, and that's going to be your audit opinion. And again, we have an unmodified audit opinion for the financial statements. That just means we believe that the financial statements represented that Scott put together were materially stated correctly. Again, it's a testament to Scott and what he's done to put this stuff together in a year that he wasn't even involved in. So congratulations on that. Moving forward quickly, the next important portion is the management discussion and analysis, which starts on page 6 and kind of goes through, I would say, about page 13, 12, page 12 or so. That information, it's financial information, but there are budgetary highlights and factors that are bearing on the district, and that information is written by the district. So that's something that we hand over to Scott, and he takes ownership of that and writes that information in there. So when you have a chance, for the most plain English version of what's going on at the district from a financial level, I would spend some time to take a look at that, those few pages, and read that. Moving forward to the actual financial statements, I want to jump to pages 13 and 14, and they basically say the same thing. So pages 13 and 14 really state the net position. One is kind of a balance sheet version, which is the statement of net position on page 13. The other is kind of an income statement version, which is the statement of activities, and that's page 14. But they both say the same thing, and it shows your total net position of a negative $32.8 million. And again, this is a long-term view. So this goes out many, many years, and the main reason this is as negative as it is because of the pension, the net pension, and the net OPEB liability. This is something that every district has to bear. It's proportionate to each school district, so you can find your portion basically, I would say about 2/3 of the way down under liabilities on page 13, and it shows a net pension liability of about $28 million and a net OPEB liability of $7 million. So that's $35 million in liabilities right there. That is, it's calculated by an actuary, so they take a lot of different numbers and calculate over a long period of time what a total pension liability is going to be for the district, and it's basically indefinite. So I just want to note that it's a large negative number, that the net position, but it's a very long-term view. Moving on to pages 17 and 19, where we can find the fund balance. Again, page 17, I'm sorry, that's pages 15 and 17. Page 15 is your balance sheet, and page 17 is the statement of revenues and expenditures. Those identify the major funds, which would be the general fund and the sinking fund, and then the non-major funds wrapped all together in one. But the one we're going to key in on is the general fund. And that has a total fund balance and has a deficit of $3.7 million. And we can see that on page 15. But going over to page 17, we can find the activity in the fund balance year over year. And so we actually started on page 17 at the bottom in the general fund column. We started the year with a fund balance of negative $4.4 million, and we ended the year with a negative $3.7 million. So that's a decrease in the deficit, so an increase in the fund balance of $680,000. So that tells me we're going in the right direction. So we're still in negative, but we're in positive territory going forward. So that is good from that standpoint. And I would just continue to, do your best to keep up those, small steps of gaining just a little bit here and there. We're not going to get it back all in one chunk, but to keep going at it in these bits and pieces is great to see. The other important portion I want to go over is going to be the statement of revenues, the budget to actual for the statement of revenues and expenditures, and that's on page 19. And there we're showing the variances from the final budgeted amounts to the actual amounts that were expended. So we have some large variances there, but again, this is to me very reflective of the staff that was in place, the business staff that was in place in fiscal years 18 and 19. And so I believe that was contracted out at the time, and we have variances there that we'd like to nip at. The state is they like to see variances within 5%, whether it's positive or negative. They want to see it within 5%. So usually anything over that 5% variance, they're going to send a notice to say, hey, we want to see this variance chopped down to 0, because that's really what they say. They really want to chop down to 0, but they won't send a notice until it's over 5%. And we have many of those. There's only a couple of them that aren't 5%. And so going forward, that's something that we'd like to see tightened up a little bit. But I believe, going again to Scott, I believe that's something that he's going to take hold of and take responsibility for, and I fully believe that that's going to be taken care of in the next year. Past that, we have the notes, the financial statement that start on page 22, and that's going to give a more detailed look at the policies of the district, the financial policies of the district, capital assets, long-term debt, the net pension liability, the OPEB liability, and then other disclosures noted. And that takes you all the way to page 54. And then after that, we have required supplementary information, and that is information that relates directly to the net pension liability and OPEB liability, again, showing the district's proportion of liability over the years, and that those statements are going to grow as the years move on, because it will eventually be a 10-year table that you will see there. Past that, we have just more detailed information on the special revenue funds and the non-major funds. It just shows really their balance sheets and their statements of revenues and expenditures in a little bit more detail than you saw on the front of the statement. And so that's what we have on page 66 through 68. Finally, in your packet, you should have a stapled 2 or 3 pages, stapled note. This is required information that we're required to get to the board. So it's information for the board to read, and that really discusses any issues, any concerns that we had in going through the audit, any disagreements with management. It would have any material misstatements that we had to make, and any other misrepresentations or other matters. I'd like to say that we did not have any disagreements. We did not have any issues at all with Scott. Again, he was great to work with. The staff was great to work with. I'm glad he's back, and I hope you guys are glad he's back too. So without further ado, if you have any questions on any of this information, I'm glad to take any questions.
Any questions? All right, so thank you guys so much for all the time and effort. Since you've been with the district, I've been with the board, so I see you every year.
Yes,
right? And
thank
so
you very much.
You guys always been a pleasure to work with, good people and good results. You're always honest and forthright with your conversation, so thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Johnson, staff report.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry,
we
ma'am.
wanna do each part separately or do them all together?
We'll do it all together.
Maybe policy reference 6830 is audit. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to accept the annual financial report from Hungerford Nichols for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2019.
All right, so I think we'll do it separately.
Okay.
Yes, so may I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 2?
So,
All right, so moved by Secretary Rush and second All right, any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, ma'am.
So, first of all, I want to thank the accountants who are busy being interviewed by the press. But, guys, I just want, on behalf of the board, wanted to echo what President Taylor said, and thank you very much for your careful attention and your thoroughness. So, and we are going to work on the plan of correction and get that stuff taken care of soon. The second thing is really, I want to give Scott a
Thank my colleagues for their support and their assistance with the others.
Take it, Scott.
So, because I just want to point out that the previous administration walked out the week of June 10th and left us in the lurch. And Scott started mid-July and really fixed a lot. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people, I've been knowing Scott for years now. He's the gentle giant. He doesn't say much, right? And, but he's a quiet storm. So good job and continue to do great work. So thank you so much.
And continue to show that love to Ben Hop, though, we need. Exactly what we need.
All right, so that staff report was,
Well, we need to vote.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go.
Yes, ma'am.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Ms. Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seed. Yes. Ms. Buchanan.
Yes.
Mr. Bradley.
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Staff report number 3, Mr. Johnson, monthly financial reports.
Thank you. The reason for board consideration is a set of financial reports is prepared for and provided to the board with each month. Facts analysis this evening is recommended that the payments for all the district's funds be approved for September 2019. Policy reference is 6470, payment of claims. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the September 2019 payments for the funds as listed.
Okay, may I have a motion for staff report number 3? All right, so it's moved by Denise Seats, supported by Mrs. Crowder. Mr. Bradley, I had a brain freeze a little while ago. I apologize.
You know, right?
Any questions, comments, concerns? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seed.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, staff report number 4, summer tax resolution.
Thank you. The reason for board consideration is each year the board votes on a resolution to levy 100% of the school property taxes during the following summer. Facts analysis: by levying 100% of the district's school property tax during the summer, payable by mid-September, the district is able to reduce the amount of funds borrowed in the state aid note program, thereby reducing annual borrowing costs. There's no policy reference. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve as presented the proposed annual summer tax resolution for 2020.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 4?
Oh,
Moved by Ms. Buchanan, supported by Mr. Watson. Any questions, comments, concern? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seed.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan.
yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We have a staff report 4A that was submitted concerning real estate on M63. Mr. Johnson, are you gonna do that one?
Be happy to.
Yes, sir.
The reason for board consideration: the party that submitted a purchase offer for the board-owned real property near M63 requested the opportunity to assign his right to purchase this land to another party. Facts analysis: the purchase agreement includes language that provides the buyer with the opportunity to assign his or her right to purchase the property to another party, subject to the seller's, the board's approval. Policy reference is 7300, disposition of real property. And the recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education authorize the interim superintendent to execute an assignment of the July 18, 2018 buy-sell agreement and amendments from Matt Davis to another buyer.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 4A?
So,
It's moved by Mr. Bradley, supported by Vice President Crowder. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
Just one question. This is just basically an assignment. The terms of the agreement are still the same? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because my comment is that this property has been held up for such a long time. It's been paid for, but, needed a title, and we need money for our budgets. So I'm glad it came to fruition, and I think Thursday is the deadline for this approval, so that's why we brought it to you guys tonight. So any other questions, comments before we call the roll? Oh, how much?
Yeah, how much are you getting?
Yeah, how much was that past
I think
price?
it's $195,000, which is really good for our budget, so.
It's wonderful.
But it's been held up since July of 2018 because of title problems. I don't know.
So let's get that money.
Yes.
All right. All right, Madam Secretary, please call the vote.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes. Watley Seats?
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Ms. Gale, Human Resources, staff report number 5, approval of new hires.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Staff report, number 5. Staff report number 5, subject employment of staff. Submitting for board consideration to approve the employment of the staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis, the new staff who we hired since the last board meeting: Rebecca Leno, teacher, ELA at DREAM; Janella Schnepp, academic interventionist at ACA; and Celeste Coley, academic interventionist. This is a part-time position at Lake Michigan Catholic. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 5? So moved by Treasurer Denise Watley Seats. May I have support?
Second.
Supported by Vice President Crowder. Any questions, comments?
I
Mr.
did have a
Bradley?
quick question. The academic interventionist, is that a grant program for why she's at the Lake Michigan Catholic?
This is actually a position that we're required to hire because a certain number of our students attend that school. So prorated is a part-time position that I believe comes out of our general funds. We have this position and there is another one which was in the report last.
It comes out of our grant funds. So this is a Title I
Oh, okay.
funded requirement, so that if we have any of our students from Benton Harbor that attend private schools, we are required to then give them or allocate funds for them. And then we don't give the funds directly to the private school, so we hire and we provide those resources and things like that.
I apologize. It is a grant funded position.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns before we call the roll? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder. Ms. Rush, yes. Ms. Watley Seats? Ms. Buchanan?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Staff report number 6, approval of terminated retired employees.
Yes, submitting for board consideration to accept the resignation of the following staff: Karen Coffey, teacher in training at Hall; Clancy Kyle, school compliance officer; Robert Sepulveda, counselor in training at the high school; Cornell Burton, teacher in training at Hall; and Thomas Adams, teacher
at HCA.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 6? Moved by Vice President Crowder,
Support.
supported by Lou Buchanan. Any questions, comments, concerns before we call the roll? All right, Madam Secretary. Oh, I'm sorry.
What type of teacher was Thomas Adams?
Thomas Adams was a certified teacher.
No, I mean, what
Math.
subject?
Oh, what
Math?
subject?
Math teacher.
Math, 8th grade math.
Math, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes, Ms. Watley Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Staff report number 7, HIL grant facilitator.
This is a proposal for our new position. It's high impact leadership grant facilitator position. In order to ensure that Hill High Impact Leadership works, a facilitator will be provided to give on-site coaching and is paid by the Hill grant. This person will have the skills and experience in literacy and leadership to help the district implement the program successfully. Submitting for board consideration to approve a new position that was not in the budget. This position is funded through the Hill grant. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the new position of Hill Grant Facilitator and name Tarina Harvey as the facilitator.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 7?
So moved.
Moved by Secretary Rush. May I have support?
Support.
Supported by Vice President Crowder. Any questions, comments, concerns? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes, Ms. Watley Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Staff report number 8, paraprofessional collective bargaining agreement.
Subject the approval of the paraprofessional collective bargaining agreement. Facts and analysis, the board was shown the changes in the agreed upon language of the new paraprofessional collective bargaining agreement that will be effective for the 2019 through 2021 school year. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the 2019 to 2021 paraprofessional collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you. May I have a motion for the approval of staff report number 8?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Buchanan, supported by Mr. Bradley. Any questions, comments, concerns before we call the roll? Madam Secretary?
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes, Ms. Watley Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, does the board have any items under other to, you have something, Ms. Buchanan? Go ahead, ma'am.
To the president and board and to the trustee and to the audience. About 5 months ago, and Mr. Prentice Magruder, he's back there. Would you stand, Prentice? They had an awards assembly at the high school, and fifth year Bobo started a scholarship for Earl McKee. But the only teacher was in the audience was Miss Golden. Mr. Magruder, I'm gonna have a certificate for you. You gave 110%. Your kid was making noise, and you and Miss Barnes and another lady, I gotta get her name. But I watched that, you guys had your kids under control. That made me happy to see that. So I'm gonna have a certificate. I said, when I first got on board, we got people in the community that done extra work. You were gonna get a certificate that you were given 110%. And y'all conducted that ceremony like pros. Let's give them a hand.
And if we could make sure we get those two names, we know we have Mr. Magruder, but if we can find the other name,
Ms. Barnes,
Sally, Vicky Sally.
Vicky Sally,
She's a parapro,
Victoria.
yeah, Victoria.
Victoria Sally.
And Ms. Bond.
what was her name?
Victoria Sally.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And then that way, at our December meeting, we can give out those 110% awards.
But when you see the young people doing that, I come here like for lunch, and I mean, he was running, I told him to go get my jacket out the car. He said, I can't go around here, I gotta take care of this. And those young people are working with the young people. That makes you feel good. And they were listening to them too.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Any discussion items? All right, superintendent announcements.
I just have two. I know Ms. Burton, she left, but I wanted to thank her for her efforts on the family literacy last night. And she was just so excited. She texted me and was pleased with the turnout. The thing about it is she and I talked, and she was hosting them at the high school. Not a lot of turnout. So making a decision to putting them at the schools and really, really trying to harness the parents that are at those particular schools, and it has proved successful. So I appreciate her in actually utilizing the funds the right way as well. And then I also want to just send out a big shout out to Mr. Johnson. He has proven himself over and over again. I worked with him back in, I think, 2016, 2017. And he has been the same way, just really diligent and really pays attention to detail. And he came in at the last minute, and he has been a superhero. So I appreciate him, and just thank you all the board for all of your work as well, because I do know that this is not an easy job. It is a lot of work. So thank you.
All right. So board member comments, we'll start with Mr. Watson.
Not much, just I want to echo the sentiments of the interim superintendent from Mr. Johnson. I know what it's like to have an audit that's ready to be done and nobody to do it. So kudos to you, and I know it's a lot of hard work, but thank you for what you've done and what you're going to continue to do.
Mr. Bradley.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody from the public for coming out. I know it's a sparse crowd. I had the opportunity to attend the annual leadership conference a few weeks ago in the Traverse City area. And I want to thank you all for letting me attend that. Very beneficial. I wish everyone could have attended. I had a chance to talk to Superintendent Robinson as well, and had emailed you all a few things. Met people from various school districts and everything, and a lot of the issues that my mind was closed to thinking that we had a lot of issues, but there's issues all over, rich districts, poor districts. And so I had attended a few sessions. I attended one on a strategic plan for the district's athletics that Adrian Public Schools has taken. And a lot of people were saying, well, they have something similar for arts. They are getting ready to start that program. So I'm thinking that's one. I have that presentation too. I can email it to you, President Taylor, where we can do that. I also had a chance to do the CBA 101 and also another one about superintendent board relations. There was so much information. I will say that. So most definitely. Then the other issue was a lot of board members had was the upcoming election year, and they had a seminar on that. And I sent you all the email of the presentation, and that's a big fear across the state because, like you say, we're looking for quality, trustees on the board when that election time comes up, and hopefully, we can find a good group like we have right here that's going to stabilize the United District. And I want to thank the central administration staff. You guys are, as we say, young people say 100. So you all are doing a great job. You all keep us informed of everything. If there's things that we're short on, you guys always let us know. So I want to thank the central administration and the board too as well.
Awesome. Ms. Buchanan.
Again, thank everyone for coming out, and Tracy and Miss Gittrich. I know the young lady that came up with that made me feel good talking about her and what they're doing. But to the board and Mr. Taylor, as I go around to different stores and I see parents and they say, what, the school district? I said, you know what? When you were, Mr. County, we didn't do that when you were, I said, okay, what I did, you can do it better because you're younger than I am. So go to these schools, go in the building, tell the principal you want to work with the kids, see what your child is doing. You can't blame the preachers, you can't blame the school board, the president of the school board, and no one else. Charity starts at home. And that's like when that new principal at the high school came in, and he said, he didn't come in and say what Mr. Holmes gonna do. He said what we gonna do with the parents. So I already, like I said, I was up here today. I saw a difference in it. You know, kids running out the lunchroom with food in their hand. I told the one lady, I said, if you go to Applebee's, do you go to, hey, do you go, Mr. Can't don't nobody do that. I said, your son was done at the high school the other day. For real? I said, no, for sure. Because I was right there. So what we got to do as a community, stop sugarcoating it. If you live in a glass house, hey, read your paper. Let's show Miss Robinson, and I know Miss Rush, and they be working, she is on it. We got to support one another, and we need to start at home. And I thank the ladies that called me. I'm not familiar with technology. My kid's gonna buy me a laptop. My son gonna get it. They called me on the phone, and I missed some time because my little 4-year-old grandson just turned, great-grandson, I said, I want to go on Facebook. Grandma, look, hit this button, and you take your finger and slide it up. I did that, got Facebook. So what we got to do, and see, what I am, I'm not saying that, say what I don't know, but Ben Harper needs to stop pointing. If you live in a glass house, then get off my back. But if not, hey, let's keep doing what we're doing. Thank you, Scott and Gail. Thank y'all for your work. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I gotta come behind that.
Yes.
Wait 1 minute, and I'm free if you need me to come up for dinner. 'Cause I don't cook.
Treasurer Seats.
Yes, I just want to say thank you to the audience for coming. Thank you for community for coming. Scott and Elizabeth, thank you so much for everything that you do. We truly appreciate it. And I'm good. Over and out.
Secretary Rush.
Well, I think I broke the microphone when I dropped it.
No,
But anyway, I want to say something a little bit different. So Ms. Buchanan, Ms. Crowder, and I have spent like 2 days a week at the high school for over 2 months now. And I just want to say how impressed I am with the high school staff. So I think that we hear a lot of criticism from the community and a lot of criticism about from the teachers. We heard when the governor was threatening us, we heard a lot about how we don't have the right teachers. Well, I'm telling you, we have some great staff at the high school. So anyway, I appreciate working with them.
Thank you so much. Vice President Crowder.
And to piggyback on that, when I walked in the building today, because we're here every Monday, every Tuesday, without fail, the only week we won't be here is next week. We told them, don't call us, we will not call you. But it was so quiet when I came into the building. I couldn't believe it. I looked around to see if I saw the kids. I saw some passing in the hallway, but they were quiet. I said, ooh. So we can see the difference now before 2 months ago when we were here before, and now to today, it's a big difference. I'd like to first thank our superintendent for all she does for our district, for the things we see and the things we don't see, but we are reaping the rewards of her diligence and hard work. Also I want to congratulate Scott on those beautiful documents we received today. You need them back? Oh, of our audit summary. It looks very clear and concise, and it was very easy to read, even those that I'm a reading teacher. I don't like numbers. And it was easy for me to read as well. And also to Elizabeth, who's hiring people and getting all these people to work in our district. She's doing an excellent job. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to the board. I mean, you know, it's always hard work, and I remember all of those expulsions. I bet you I've done probably 150 or more, right? And it's emotional, right? Because some of the things you hear, some of the stuff you see, but you guys have stood steadfast, and so I want to thank you for your commitment. I used to leave work to help, so sometimes if you can't make it, I can do that because they allow me to leave as well. So you're calling. I want to give a shout out to the Lego League. Mrs. Robinson sent me a text. The coach of the Lego League was a teacher who left the district. So our kids were left in limbo. Our FLL team at ACA and our RC team that we just started at ACA. And she said, can you help? So I got myself and another mentor, we went in and we tried to salvage what we could. The students last week, the Lego team, which is the 6th grade team, they went to Lakeshore, they got a trophy, and the trophy was the core values and teamwork. So we did that in 2 weeks. So it's so awesome, right? And I thought I was going to get some rest until January when robotics actually started, but I didn't mind. And so we're working right now with the FRC team, which is really your junior high team, and their competition will be December 6th. So whether we get a trophy or not, it's the effort, so the kids see now that someone does care. We step in and say, hey, we're just here to help, right? But as well, we demand respect. So the kids will tell you, Miss Taylor comes in, I don't play. If you want to play, go. If you don't want to play, we're here to help, right? So I think that was just awesome. So thank you for introducing me to the students, and I was glad to help out. That's it for me. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that we have a board that's producing. I'm glad we sold the property, right, to help out with the budget. So, and also, the students for Lego League it was like 5 students. For the FRC, it's probably about 10 students, but their competition comes up in a couple weeks. But the little kids, they're done, but we're still programming and teaching them things that they didn't know. So it's not over. We didn't release them. We said, you got to still work because this is real life, right? But we do have some good kids, and I think our kids just need something to do, and they also we have to keep them busy and occupied, right? And they're students like anyone else, and I think we just need to give them a chance, so.
That's all.
All right. With that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? All right. Yep.
President Taylor,
Yes.
Vice President Crowder,
Yes.
Ms. Rush, yes, Ms. Watley Seeds.
Yes.
Ms. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
we are adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.